of you who are watching live or the replay for joining us. Excuse me. And to Alexa and Jordan, who are going to tell you a bit more about with their official bios in a moment. And we'll dive into our topic tonight, of course, which is keeping the sex dirty. Before, we'll be looking at the culture and the 8 top tips for keeping it healthy, happy, and hot. But before we get into any of those specifics on the details, Alexa and Jordan, thanks for being here. And we like to just give people a sense of the couple, whether it's the story of how you met, which, I remember from your bio is pretty of a fun one, something Facebook became Tinder. Maybe you want to share that story or your motto for relationship. But yeah, just say hello to everyone and give us a sense of who you guys are as a couple.
Yeah, hey, thank you for having us on. I love that she did that for them when Facebook became Tinder for a moment. That tickled my fancy. I mean, the long story shortish is I caught her on a live stream. We had become friends. I don't even know how, just a lot of mutual friends, similar circles. And she was so eloquently expressing herself in the midst of a heartache. She's got tears streaming down her face, but she's so cool, calm, collected, and just in her power as she's sharing a relationship of hers that had come to an end. And I was so captivated and mesmerized by her. So I sent her a Facebook voice message, because you can really get off the tone of what I'm trying to express in voice message much more than text, and just shared that with her. I was like, wow, I'm so in awe of you. You seem like a really awesome young lady. I probably said chick or something more bro like that. And I busted a little freestyle, as I like to do, a little flowetry just in the moment. To spice it up a little bit. I was trying to put my best foot forward there. And 6 months later, I got her.
No, you got him. 6 months later, he just moved in.
I did. We moved fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your freestyling must have worked better. What was that?
I said many steps in between there, but that's the start of it at least.
That's the start of it. And they say that social media and computers, doesn't bring people together, right? But I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
we met. We wound up going to Costa Rica. We did Envision Festival together-ish. Was thinking about going. He was already going. Retreat, all kinds of other things going on. And then we just kept traveling after that. We left Costa Rica. I just didn't go on my flight to New Orleans. And I flew to Dallas. We went to an event. And then we went, I came back with you to Encinitas in California. And basically rode out the rest of you and the Misfit gangs lease in Encinitas, San Diego, until we wound up here in New Orleans with our short bus. And
well, the test of a relationship is if you can travel together, right?
Oh, especially a big ass bus with no air conditioning.
Yes, true colors. True colors come out when the air conditioning goes off.
Ain't that the truth? Or you're hungry.
Yes, right? Or hangry, right?
And how long have you been together?
6 months, just about 6 months.
Yeah, early love.
Wow. So do you remember what some of his initial freestyling Facebook text messages were?
It was a voice message.
It was 2 voice notes. I remember what's so funny, so you can't see what my shirt says right now, but it says bow down. Funnily enough, his says go deep. But this is the shirt for, so I'm from New Orleans and I ride every year in a Mardi Gras parade, or I have ridden over the course of the last few years in a parade called Cleopatra. And I happen to be, and I ride with my sister. It's an all-female Mardi Gras parade, it's a tradition. So I was at a Cleopatra party getting my stuff to ride in the parade. That was a couple of weeks later, and I was with my mom and my sister. And I remember going, like, I get these 2 voice notes from this guy that I only know him as the guy on Facebook that I never see wearing a shirt that has like a really crazy, wild personality. But I was like, this really caramel, silky looking skin. And like, anyway, so I'm like, oh, okay, I'm getting a message from Jordan Bowditch. And so I go in the other room and I listen, and it's like this freestyle flow. And he's like, Miss Alexa, I'm really impressed with you. I just wanna...
Oh, you remember the first few
I do,
lines.
I remember.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah,
things we
I
do
do,
for love.
And then he just stops having words that rhyme, and he goes, he changes his voice tone and everything. He goes, hello.
Great.
So, and I remember going to my oldest niece, she's 18, and I'm like, listen to this guy. What do I think? I couldn't decide. I'm like, is it cheesy?
You
Is
loved it.
endearing? Why are you shouting? Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, that's great. Well, it shows that you started right off from the get-go with humor, and anybody who's ever seen our show or worked with us before knows that we're not necessarily being silly, although silly can help sometimes, but really being lighthearted. And so right from the get-go, you're bringing play and, you know, a sense of lightheartedness to creating the relationship, and to ultimately to even addressing conflict with it.
Yeah, sincere over serious
Yeah.
is a phrase I like to use, which I borrowed from my boy Osho. Mhm.
Oh, wow.
Sincere over serious. That's an Osho one. Okay, wow.
From my boy Osho. They go way back.
Side note that
Do you really?
Gabby's dad was Osho's attorney, and I don't know if you've seen Wild Wild Country, but
We pieced that together because Wild Wild Country was the first television anything that we decided to watch together.
Mhm.
Oh.
You're quite
That's
fond of
my
the
dad.
attorney. That's
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah. How so funny. I told you this show is like a dinner party conversation, right? You never know where it's going to go.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. You grew up with Osho? Me too. Awesome. Well, let's give people a bit on your actual bios as well. And we've got some really fun. I love the photos that come up with the bios. So Raj, will you share the screen? So we start with ladies first with Alexa. Such a gorgeous picture here. And I love this, sex and relationship by design coach. That's the work that Raj and I are always talking about. Do you want to live by default, or do you want to live by you know, designing a relationship for delight? So I love seeing that. Relationship by design coach and mentor. And she's on a mission to reform sex education and expression across the globe. Great at busting through taboos, which is always great for our conversations about sex. And she is the founder of the Violet Butterfly, a Kaleidoscope, a blog, brand, and podcast community with love, sex, and relationships as the central focus. And you can find her on Facebook at Alexa and Martinez. And don't you have a page for the Violet Butterfly on Facebook as well?
I do. Yes. So the Violet Butterfly is its own page. There's so many pages.
There's so many pages, and that's great. You can find her at Alexa and Martinez. Yes, absolutely.
Violet Butterfly has an Instagram and everything.
Okay.
Awesome, and I have the pleasure and honor of introducing Jordan. I love this photograph. Very well
Right,
taken
it's
there.
like his third eye is shooting out this energy here of sunshine. Where is this? Is this in Encinitas here?
Yes.
It is, yeah.
By San Diego? To those not from around these
Not from
parts?
yeah. So, Jordan, lifestyle design coach, social media influencer, and event retreat host. I think that says it all. It's awesome. Lifestyle design coach. He facilitates elevated connection by creating safe spaces to not play it safe, integrating bioenergetics. Love to hear more about that. Interpersonal polarity and social magnetism. You have
Yes.
great, engaging statements about what you do. I love it. And
Buzzword.
co-founder and what's that?
I said buzzwords.
Yes.
Co-founder and COO of a lifestyle brand called Mystic Misfits, highly regarded biohacker, ambassador, and influencer of Bulletproof Nutritional Company.
Yes.
And you can find out more about Jordan at Jordan Bowditch. Is that how you pronounce your name, Jordan?
Bowditch.
Bowditch.
JordanBowditch.com.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and I love all the biohacking as well. Raj and I, you know, we like to take practices, you know, like business practices and bring it to relationship and relationship to business. And even one of the tips we're going to talk about tonight even has some homage, I guess, to just biology and anatomy on how our physicality is can give us lessons on how our intimacy is as well. So, you know, when you're studying biohacking, you're actually, you know, looking for finding new models that you can even apply to relationships too.
Absolutely.
Relationship hacking.
Relationship hacking, yes. And relationship is such a big part of lifestyle design. So a nice synergy there with the relationship work. Okay, awesome. So about Alexa and Jordan.
Okay, yes, Alexa and Jordan, I was writing down something that you guys said because I want to make a little quote meme box about it. So if you see me to the side a little type of way, it's because you've said something really inspiring that I don't want to forget and I want to hold on to. But I love this picture here. Speaking of fun, we've got a little smeared glitter and paint on this one. And we talked about the Facebook became a Tinder for them and inspired a new romance. And they continue to inspire each other daily with their individual commitments to themselves first and their relationship second. First, put on your own oxygen mask. That's a really important thing to do. And that balance then of still honoring the relationship is sacred, but you're not going to be able to give if you haven't first taken care of yourself. And their motto is to commit to the process, surrender to the experience. I love, love, love this saying, and that you have a motto in the first place. That's so great. And as Alexa mentioned, they are in New Orleans now, New Orleans. Also, that's where home is at the moment, and wherever their Biggie James Smalls is, right? Is that your short bus?
That's the dog actually in that picture right there. The short bus.
The dog is Biggie James Smalls, and the short bus. Do you have a name for your short bus, though? I imagine as well.
Are we making it official right now?
I'm ready if you are.
I'm ready. We've been coming up with names.
Good choices.
It turns out the bus's name is
Florence. Flow for short. The Flowmobile.
Flowmobile. Watch
nice.
that flow go. I love it.
right. Flow goes.
The flow was birthed here, right? On Fights Clean Sex Dirty TV. It's our first birth, our first baby,
First
honey.
baby.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here tonight. And for those of you that are watching, we just want to tell you a little bit about the flow of the show.
So this whole show, us doing relationship work in the name of this show came from someone attending our wedding. And we were asking people if they had advice for how to have a long-lasting, great relationship. And this person said, just keep the fights clean and the sex dirty. And, you know, that was 10 years ago. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary in March. And we had no idea we were going to be doing this work. It wasn't what we were doing at that time. But as you may have heard in the past or with other communications, that it wasn't necessarily easy for us initially. We had to work through a lot of things, although we knew there was a very powerful and positive future for us. And so being in the arena of personal growth and development, not necessarily in relationship personal growth, we started using our tools that we learned in other areas and put them towards our relationship, and then started creating relationship tips and tools. And then our friend said, wow, how did you guys get your relationship working so well?
We went from being that couple, like, oh, you're going to invite that couple, to what is it about them? You know, of like, wow, there's something special there. So from the that couple to the it couple. So pretty soon people started saying, okay, you got to tell us what you did. So then we had to figure out what we did.
Yeah, we had to figure out, actually, someone asked us to speak at their wedding after as a relationship seminar the day after their wedding. And we just threw together some of the tips that we use in our relationship, and everyone was laughing and, you know, really getting a lot out of it. They were laughing so hard that they had a hard time hearing what we were saying, just because relationship's funny if you take the significance out of it, right? And we really designed our content into those two categories, keeping the fights clean and the sex dirty. And we really pride ourselves on very applicable tips that you can use in the moment. And the time frames that you use tips in changes with what state you're in fights clean or sex dirty. So the tips for before are different than the tips for after. and etc. So we break all of our content into before, as it starts, during, and after, fights clean and sex dirty.
Yeah, especially, things like, a tip for how to reconnect with someone after a fight. If you try and do that in the heat of an argument, does not go so well. Or, if it's like what you would do during in the middle of sex and you like bring that in the well before and you haven't even done any seduction yet, that kind of is like, timing is everything, right? You want to make sure. So we like to always have this symbol. So when you're looking for tips, whether it's on our website, one of our blogs, or one of our quick tip video clips, look for these symbols. In this case today, we've got the devil horns because it's keeping the sex dirty, knowing when to be naughty. And it's got the before shaded in. And if you are here live tonight, we've got a free gift for you. If you just go ahead and put a comment in either on Zoom or on Facebook, we'll go ahead and send you our cheat sheet, which has 8 tips for keeping the fights clean and 8 tips for keeping the sex dirty, summarized just into one short sentence, little blurb. And of course, you can go to our website and find out even more info, but it's great to print this out, put it in your wallet, save it, put it on your screensaver or on the background on your phone for when you open up your phone. So you've got those tips available to you just when you need them the most. And even when you don't need them, you just see the picture there on your phone or your screensaver and you know that they're there.
So yes, let us know and we'll get that over to you. And today, as Gabby mentioned, we're focused on how to keep the sex dirty before. And here are some tips from past episodes and also that you can find on our blog page. Mastering Mini Seductions is an awesome one on keeping the sexual energy and chemistry alive. Building Trust for Better Sex, and Hot by Habit.
Yep, that's one of our quick tip video clips. You can go and check that one out. But today we're going to talk about initiate inertia, because one of the most important ideas, and when I say talk about it, this is Raj and my one tip, because we got 8 juicy tips coming from Jordan and Alexa, so we want to get through this one. It's a good thing we got just one here. And I love them. I got to hear them a few days ago and condense them into some bullet forms to fill this slide deck, and you guys are going to love them too. But first, initiate inertia, which is the idea when you're building, this is about the, being that this is sex dirty before, this is about the culture in your relationship. What's the day-to-day dynamic between you like, so that when it is time to, access that intimacy, that the on-ramp isn't so long and windy and arduous and hard to get to, but that it's really easy for you to connect deeper and get physically intimate because you already have a baseline of intimacy and sexiness present.
Yeah, and we relate it to physics inertia, right? Have you ever had your car die and you need to push it to get it to start again, and it's hard to push it initially and then it starts rolling, right? That's what we're talking about getting the sexual chemistry rolling, right? It might take some initial effort, but if you keep it going and just put a little bit of attention and effort into it, then it's way easier to keep it going.
Yeah, as this quote here says, things in motion tend to stay in motion and things at rest tend to stay at rest. And before I mentioned, when we were talking in the intros, I mentioned a little bit about anatomy and how relationships can learn a lot from anatomy. With your muscles, you are always, always, always either gaining or losing muscle. You just in a few days of laying there, if you're laid up sick, your muscles actually start to atrophy. And intimacy is the same way. You are either gaining or losing intimacy always. It is never neutral. So you want to, you don't have to be like tap dancing as fast as you can, but you want to have a regular practice of building intimacy. So that's what we mean here by tend to your garden or weeds will grow. If you don't give it a little bit of attention and you just kind of let it, do its thing, we tend to default to getting hangry, cranky, short-tempered, and the default is not so sexy very often. Who knows, maybe you got really lucky, but for most people, most relationships, the default is not the sexiest. And so when I talk here about let's get personal, I want you just to look in your own relationship and really look at, are you tending to your garden or are the weeds growing? This next part here, Raj already mentioned the law of physics with initiate inertia, right? Things in motion tend to stay in motion. Things at rest tend to stay at rest. So the message here is just get started on something, right? It doesn't matter whether you're using our tip or any of these other 8 tips, or something else that you read, or what a friend told you, or just an idea you woke up in the middle of the night with. The point is, it is a game worth playing, right? You want to engage in it, dance in it, and just find something that works for you. And when that stops working, find something else. It's about the imperfect, inspired action. As we like to say, let's play a game, right? Hey, I don't know, let's play a game. How could we make things more sexy and spicy between us?
So just as an example, when we do 90-day games in our life and in our relationship, and
Meaning we set goals for 90 days.
Yeah. And one of the goals that we had in terms of this tip was to, at least one time per day, say something or do something that's sort of in the sexual nature, whether it's I just walk by Gabby when she's working and kiss her neck, or anything like that. And
do something, just anything, you know, a
So-
kiss, a wink, a text, you know, bring someone a cup of tea. We were working straight through lunch, and all of a sudden he came over my shoulder and he brought me a salad today. Hey, baby, that's foreplay to me. You keep me from being hangry? Like, that's hot. Feed me. Yes.
Yeah, and
You
so
kept my stomach full, then the rest is ready to give more.
And so if you put in a habit of once a day doing something, anything, you start generating that momentum. You keep you initiate the inertia and keep it moving.
Yes, yes, yes. Initiate inertia. We have a friend right now who's doing the 21-day turn-on challenge. And so every day she just, whether it's a song she likes and she dances to it, she just finds something for her turn on. So explore that, whether it's your 21-day turn-on challenge or just finding something sexy. Just initiate inertia, put those words up. You can take this image. We'll post the image on the Facebook page so that you can print this and just have it be visible for you. Again, put it on your phone. You can put it on your refrigerator. I like to use my refrigerator, my screensaver, to remind you to just do something every day. Initiate inertia.
Okay, so action option. We love to put our tips into action. And just to bring a little bit of play, I think we left this out last episode.
I think we
gotta
did.
Do it.
Ready?
Mission Impossible.
Dun, 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 da-da-da, da-da-da. It is not impossible, but it is not obvious, right? So we put it as an option. It's the action option. We want you to take action.
I'm glad that's cracking you up. Okay.
But it's up to you. It's up to you if you're actually going to just, go, oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
You're like, no, we are going to do something. So we're going to put this into some tangible, specific language for you now. So first, just ask yourself what's at rest, right? We're talking about things in motion, things in rest. What's at rest in your sexual relationship right now that you would like to be stirred up and get it into motion? Get that thing into gear, right? So just write down 3 ideas on how you might get started, what action you might take. And then after you've written down what those actions are, you want to write down what the pitfalls might be. Because often if you can remove the obstacle, and what you want organically, naturally happens. Just to make sure you're stacking the cards in your favor, you want to also write down what are 3 ideas on what might make it more likely for those new actions that you created to happen. Especially if it's a habitual daily or weekly thing, how can you stack the cards in your favor? Like I said, putting up prompts and reminders, right? So then when you look at all these different ideas that you've come up with, you want to pick one that you can do in the next hour, one you can do in the next 24 hours, and one you can do in the next week. So again, you're just getting into action and you're playing a game, throwing spaghetti on the wall, initiating inertia, seeing what works, seeing what sticks, because you never know. So then put those reminders in place, schedule them, and then just take the actions. Go ahead, make them baby steps if they need to be, but just play full out.
And don't forget those reminders, because you'll forget about this in probably the next 2 hours.
Next 2 hours, yeah. We go from the one room to another and you forget why you went into that room, right? So you are going to forget this. So that's why I say pick your prompts, put them where you want to see them, and keep those alive. So Alexa and Jordan, has this rung any familiar bells for you guys?
Yeah,
Do something, anything?
Well, something came up for me. I love the pick one idea and having those like in the next hour, the next 24 hours, in the next few days, I think they were. This is something that I do on my coaching calls at the end is I say, let's set an intention for some immediate inspired action. Because like you said, it's great to soak in knowledge and content, have these like profound ideas and concepts without putting into action. No wisdom is cultivated. So I want to acknowledge you guys for that. That's like powerful stuff. Like, okay, what are you going to do like right now? Not like, oh, if this, then that, or when this happens, then that, or maybe any of that like wishy-washy weasel language, weasel words. So yeah, I dig that.
We even give you theme music so you can get excited, right? Dun, 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 dun. Be the superhero, right?
We just moved in. Granted, my place, my mom's words were that my place now feels like, over the last week, it feels like somebody actually lives in this place versus it's just staged, getting ready to be sold, or like, you know, waiting for somebody to move in, basically. And so over this past weekend, we went to Home Depot and we got these giant whiteboards. And so in this room, this is the office, and there's 2 giant whiteboards on the wall here, and they've got all kinds of things on them. And then there's one that we decided when my mom originally came and she goes, wow, that's a really big dry erase board in the hallway that you can see from all, you can see it from all of the places, because we both work from our computers and at home, and we like to create a certain kind of environment. And right away on that main one that was in the hallway, or that is in the hallway, we started writing like things that we need to do, or we get to do, change my language there, get to do over the week, or that's coming up. And there's like a general little like to-do list. And so I penciled each other. And
Great.
a little smiley face. And you know, I go and like, we don't have enough dry erase boards. There's also one in the refrigerator for the grocery list. And I like write Jordan about it, just so sexy. And like those things, I think about what I would feel like. I think about when you do things like that for me. And I, regardless if I'm going to get I have any attachment to any reciprocity or any outcome or anything, you know, I think a little bit of this has to do with what I do as my niche, I suppose, in coaching and cultivating community and creating community. But I think a lot of this comes from doing things in a particular way in relationships and failing over and over again, and then eventually getting to a certain place of comfort in expression. I'm going to express it regardless. I'm totally cool. I can give myself all the love that I need to give, but it feels good to give it to someone else, and to keep with the sexiness we were just talking about this before the show, the idea of now that we have the board and it's each other, or we say something relatively sexy that we're going to be doing, that we choose maybe every other day, something that we want to do that's different.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a great idea, because you know, I love John Gottman, as you probably know, the Love Lab and the Gottman Institute and all the research he does there. And one of the top things he says for a relationship to stay passionate and fulfilled long term is to have new experiences, both on your own and together. So, you know, Raj and I, you know, like 11 years in, we went to a songwriting workshop, and we took our wedding vows and put it into a song. You know, so you're just doing new things that you haven't done before, creates literally the chemistry in your body that stimulates what it was like when you first fell in love.
Yep. You look like a different...
I love bringing chemistry to psychology and to relationship. I just find we're such chemical people. It's just amazing.
Kind of easy to figure out, even though we seem so complicated.
I know, right. Yes, I hear that all the time. It should be easier, right? Well, it is going to get easier for those of you who are watching the show to cultivate that culture of connection and to shorten those on-ramps to intimacy. So it's nice and easy. We've got 8 awesome tips. Raj, are you sharing the screen here? Mm-hmm. So Alexa and Jordan, you know, take it away. We've got, you know, about 20 minutes or so to talk about these tips. We want to give people some time at the end to find out more about what you're up to and about relationship fun and games. But dive in and feel free to jump around with all these juicy tidbits.
Cool. Yeah, this is going to be fun. You guys asked for 3 to 5. We provided 8 because we're overachievers.
Yeah, it's up, right?
For me, eye gazing, it was as soon as we started talking about this, was the first one that came up. And it seems so simple and maybe even silly to some people, and certainly uncomfortable to most, I imagine, certainly for me in the beginning. But it's a way of connecting without creating any stories or using language, which oftentimes for me is like a way to fill space if I'm not aware about it. I'll just like talk just to talk and just leaking energy without any real intention behind it. And can be a really powerful way in the context of maybe like a miscommunication, an argument, disagreement, to just stop and just like, okay, hang on a second, let's get rid of all this swirling energy and just like connect with each other's humanity. And in a past relationship, I remember one specific scenario where there was a storm. I mean, it was a hurricane up in there, a pretty intense fight. And instead of falling in past patterns of like wanting to be right, her be wrong, fix it, all of these kind of things that have never worked, but for some reason I continue to try and do them. Definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And I just stopped. And that was when I was really first starting to get into David Data's work and the way of the superior man. And I like just some of his work and some of the activities and exercises that I've been trying and facilitating retreats and stuff. I was like, okay, this is a perfect opportunity. Like, what's actually happening here and what's important? And so I just stopped in the middle of that storm and eye gazed and didn't say anything after she stopped for like a couple minutes. And you could feel it slowly but surely, and then more quickly, the energy just completely shifted until we had some great passionate sex. And
he's not talking about me. No, it's not weird, but I wanted to mention that he's talking about in the past, just in case anybody missed that part.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I got that part of the story. And hey, have you been with somebody before me? Like what?
Right.
No, we got to use all of that research, right, and put that to good use in our current relationships, right?
I had it. It was good. Please ready. Virgin coconut oil.
Yeah.
That looks great.
Raj and I had a meeting today. We had our once a week personal goals meeting. And that's how we started our agenda, is with 30 seconds, even just 30 seconds of eye gazing and deep breaths. And it's amazing, just, the brain chemistry, what happens is when you just take a few deep breaths and look at each other, that you're triggering, oxytocin and the connection and calming your nervous system so that you can think more clearly.
Yeah. And the reason why I even mentioned like just the point of that he was speaking of someone else, for me, the reason why I bring that up specifically is because I've noticed that we've had that conversation. We had that conversation pretty early on, and we knew that at some point, the puppy love or the early stages of our relationship would wane. Things would shift, the dynamics. We understood, but being cognizant of that or conscious of that, moving forward, it's not like we're trying to rush into that phase versus being in the puppy love phase, but we know that the reality. So even earlier today, there was a little bit of a heated kind of moment, and we go right into eye gazing. It's a habit now. As soon as we feel a tension, we go straight into it. And I'm reminded, without verbal using words, I'm reminded why I choose this person. Because we have that on the list too, is that we verbally choose each other daily. But, those moments where we eye gaze for even just a few seconds, that's those affirmations, a reminder of, oh yeah, I choose this human chooses me, not all this other, whatever this stuff is going to be done in a few minutes. But anyway, yes.
What's that line? It says, you're my person. You're my person.
Do you have anything to say? Because, sometimes when you're upset with somebody, the last thing you want to do is look at them.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's usually the thing that I most want to avoid. Like I've heard it said, what you resist persists. So if I'm feeling resistance to that, it's like, oh yeah, there's a wound there where there is a response or some sort of wound. So I'm going to like feel into that. And when I can let my pride subside and like just feel into that experience, it's like it starts to go away and I start to feel connected.
Great. Yeah, I think one of the Did you want to say something about that, Alexa?
I'm writing down, by the way, let your pride subside. That was a good one there.
I've never said that. That is a good one.
That was a really good one.
We have this, I don't know if this has to do with the fact that we're both the youngest children growing up in our families, or what. I don't know where it really stems from, but we both have, I guess we could call it personality, like what do you call it, an avatar of sorts, but like BJ and Gordon and
oh yeah, like alter egos.
We like alter egos, and so when things feel too grown up, we change our voices and we almost play like little kids. And so we completely change the dynamic. We completely change everything. We start playing with each other. He will look at me like, oh, not in no way, shape, or form is it condescending. It's
or
very
like
caring. It's very caring. We'll completely change how we're approaching it. And it changes our intonation of our voices, the language that we use. We go very, very playful, and that it's laughter. And usually we wind up we want to get very close to each other whenever we're like that. It's almost like we're little kids.
Cool. Is it easy to, I know we have a bunch of tips to cover, but is it easy to just give us an example of that, or is it not so easy to drop into?
Well, so there's BJ Baker from
that's
San Antonio, Texas, and then I have Gordon Guru, the practitioner and student of all things good energy and a master of the esoteric arts, conscious AF over here. Especially when we're getting into like the woo-woo stuff, I love to bust out old Gordon the good energy guru. I call it like playing
one
with
of our friends. One of our friends, they actually put into their wedding vows that her husband needed to use his Scottish accent at least once a week to make her laugh.
Yes, and at Envision Festival, we had Jordana.
Yes, Jordana, Festival Jordana, how are you? Good to see you.
And he will bust out with that at any time, which is funny, but we get Biggie's voice.
Oh, the
to
big
each
man.
other, the big man.
Big man.
So we'll talk to each other like the big man. That's the voice that we have when we're talking about. We talk to each other as if we're 5 or 6 year olds. Anyway.
Okay. All right, we'll try that.
Love it. Love it.
I'm looking at it as like, what are these two?
And then, okay, cool. So moving into gratitude, this is a good segue from eye gazing because this is something we do before every meal. We look at each other and it's like our way of praying. So we hold each other's hands and we eye gaze and we share appreciation for one another. And we use very like specific language. I appreciate you for this. That's a big theme of it. And just general appreciation. I'm grateful for this. And we spend sometimes just 10, 20 seconds, sometimes a couple minutes each, just depending on what's going on in our lives, the state we find ourselves in. And that's just like a great way to ground in and connect with one another before we just dig in and stuff our faces. Yeah.
We're sharing gratitude. We're sharing gratitude all the time with each other, but that was more intention. And it's like I've gotten to a point now where as food is ready, I just stick my hands out. Like I don't even go to eat. I just stick my hands out because it puts me in such a state, or I allow for myself to really just go into that gratitude state. But both of us grew up in families that were religious.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is our reclaiming, I would say. This is our reclamation of what that practice means. And I'm speaking on for both of us here, but I feel pretty strongly that's you'll allow it. That's we've put way more intention than it ever had before, and reclaimed it. So digging the gratitude. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's just right there all the time, anytime.
Yeah. Sometimes when Raj and I are getting crunchy or we have an argument, we'll drop into 5 gratitudes, with the magic ratio, right? So if you say something crunchy, 1 negative thing, you want to say 5 positive ones. Go gratitude! Yay!
I've always called it a sandwich.
A gratitude sandwich.
A gratitude sandwich. Gratitude crunchy, then the gratitude, so that you start and end with the good stuff.
I like crunchy. That's fun.
We like crunchy too. All right. We like the novel. So at least
what
one
is this
person.
next one here?
Yeah, so the shared experiences, that was like the main one that could have been parsed out into several different things. Shared experiences, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier on this call. It's the connection that is shared through that. Like if I allow myself to just be in the house all day, having a mundane, like just going through the motions of habits and not a whole lot of intention, or just getting lost in my to-do list, I find that our polarity is lost oftentimes. Like that'll like decline. Like I won't feel as connected to her. And then we go do a yoga class. This is something we've been doing since moving here. Is every morning we do an early yoga class together. And that has been an absolute game changer. I'm like excited to wake up. We start the day, get into our bodies, one another, a minimal like talking or responding to emails and reactivity. We're being very proactive and physical with one another. And traveling, like I said, on a short bus across the country, going to festivals together, those shared experiences. And some can be very novel and extravagant, and others can be very simple, like going again to the yoga class down the street.
Going to Home Depot for the first time together. It's
Yeah.
it's the first time. New adventure, right? It will probably not be that exciting the second time, but the first time, and we brought Vivian in with us, so that, yeah. And we intentionally go out of our way sometimes to do things that are hard, because through those challenges, I think that we bond, we show ourselves the sides, we intentionally show ourselves the sides of ourselves that we would normally think is, I would say, the not so pretty.
Yeah.
I want to show that to you. I want to show it all to you so that you can find, if we can find the common ground, and we can find the gratitude, and we can find the sexiness, and we can still find the connection, even at our sweatiest, our sickest, our grossest, our most annoyed, everything. If we can do that, and even with intention, then what else can we do? You know, and that's the basis behind all of our relationship, is that this is, you know, especially for me, I'll speak for myself, this is the first relationship that I've gone into with this much intention.
Isn't it great? Isn't it great? I've had some people before say, you're so intentional, like it's a bad thing. And I was like, well, how's willy-nilly working out? Because for my willy-nilly, it's really weird, really fast. So I like a little intention. I'm not rigid, right? You set the intention, you know, as they say, trust in Allah, but tether your camel, right? So, you know, I'm going with the flow, but I'm also being clear about what it is that I want, what we want together.
Yeah.
Which brings us to this lifestyle enhancing together. I like that segue.
Well, one thing that's part of that segue, I'm really a big fan of Jocko Willink, and he has a phrase, freedom and discipline. So creating a discipline, a structure, and then finding the freedom and flow within that, or like creating an order so you can have some chaos within that order. But it's like, and that's part of our lifestyle enhancing together, is we have a design day, again, with the things like yoga in the morning, having these whiteboards. Man, if there was one like lifestyle hack piece I could have for people, it's like have a massive whiteboard front and center in your house. So you can constantly, instead of keeping stuff in your mind, oh, I should do that, should do this, should be all over myself. Yeah, I need to remember that. Just have that be the external hard drive, and something that I'm constantly looking at and updating. What other lifestyle?
And that way you can also be your compliment or gratitude collector, right? Every time you think of something that you like about your partner, you can write that on there, and you know, it just keep things real and alive.
I was wondering if anyone's
imagine like our commitment to our health and fitness,
totally.
And the fact that we care about the environment and we care about things together. We generally care. So any way that we can have a lifestyle that shows that, that we care about our bodies, we care about our temples, we care about our minds, our hearts, others, the planet, those things, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and 3 very distinct words: lifestyle, enhancing, together. Like 3 pieces. It's great. Okay, cool. How about sexy items? They're always in earshot or eyesight. I like the earshot part.
I'm looking around at like what I can grab right away that's sexy, but the bookshelf is right over here. But I have so many books because of what my brand consists of and what I do on the daily with clients in the groups and stuff like this. There's one cube of the bookshelf that's filled with like how to give a great blowjob, and there's Sex at Dawn and Jane Eyre, and just all kinds of crazy stuff is in there. That's like reading materials that have to do with sex. And so there's a sexy playlist that's on hand, and we always have music, pretty much always have music going. Like my group has
I want to hear your sexy playlist. It would be great just to have a whole album of sexy playlists. That would be a fun contest. We'll have everyone send in their sexy playlists, right?
Yep. You can get some inspiration from Spotify, the Kaleidoscope. There's 2 of them.
Oh, great. Spotify Kaleidoscope.
Writing
Okay.
it down.
Yeah. And I ask the group every so often, like, what new song have you heard recently that needs to go on Bump and Grind? And what one needs to go on, it's a little bit flowier. There's 2 playlists for that. So other than that, art, like there's something juicy, sensually juicy. You can see it, you can smell it, whether it's candles, it's using the 5 elements, generally speaking. There's some kind of attention that's paid to environment. What does the vibe feel like? So sexy items.
They call Raj, one of Raj's nicknames is Ambiance Man, because he's always making the space really beautiful. Even if we go into a hotel room, he'll hang fabric over the lampshade, or, do whatever he does to make it.
Every night I have a ritual of turning on our different lighting and timers, turn lights on, and it's like we're in instant ambiance each night.
Instant ambiance. And then in terms of keeping things inside, we have a Fights Clean and a Sex Dirty toolkit. There used to be one in the same toolkit, but then we got so many toys for each, we had to separate them. Now we have a Sex Dirty 5-gallon bucket, the toolkits that go over the 5-gallon bucket, and they have all the pockets on the side. So we keep that pretty close and visible. Yeah, but it's nice to tickle the imagination. You just open the closet. I did just think of something in the kit. Was that giggle?
Yeah.
Did I say that out loud?
Yeah.
So keeping it in earshot or eyesight, but we don't have a lot of good sexy music playlists. So that let's go find the little Kaleidoscope sleuthing and find.
I have a toy. I call it a toy chest. Like whenever I do live streams or courses or anything that I'm talking about different toys. So any place that I'm in, chances are there's a sex toy in every room. You just have to look, be kind of clever, dig around a little bit, whether it's inside the ottoman. Mm-hmm. At one stage, I had something just hanging out in there. There's water toys. There's like that water slide, that Maureen, because doing what I do and having the podcast, people send me stuff. I'm like, oh, well, let me just strew them kind of all over the place, start conversations. It's not uncommon to like walk into the office and I call it my demo dildo, is sitting on the desk. It's like the one that I use with so anyway, sex is just everywhere.
Love it. Well, before I was saying with our tip, right, pick your prompts. So you got lots of prompts all over the place. I was saying screensavers and whatnot, but hey, dildo in the ottoman, that works too.
Like, whoa, what is that? Did you have something?
We
I love that.
went to the Museum of Sex in New York City last month. We did a little meetup with her community in that area, and we got some cool little games and toys from there. And one that has been so fun, it's like a party favorite, it's just sitting out, is this like deck of cards where you just pull a question, and they're rated from X to XX and XXX based on like the intensity of the question. And they're just ways to like get into that conversation, into like a pattern interrupt throughout the day at any time, and a great way to break the ice in a group of people.
And a great way for some people to feel like they are really in need of going and exploring.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes they're like, wow,
What's the name of the card?
What is it?
What's the name of the set of cards?
Like 100 sex questions or something like that.
I forget the name. Yeah, it's something simple like that.
I'll have to
Yeah.
check it out. I'll have to check it out. We have on our website, it's, we call it the P3 store, Playful, Peaceful, and Passionate. But we have all sorts of products on there, not other people's products. Some are our own. But we love to help people find new playthings for keeping the fights clean and the sex dirty. So I just wrote down your cards as well and your Spotify list. I've got my mission, should I choose to accept it, and I do.
Your deer sticks,
Yeah, I
too.
haven't even busted those out yet.
Time.
It's time.
It's time. It's time. Awesome. Well, speaking of time, we are starting to run short. I think we have a couple more tips here. Raj, what'd you do with our screen? What'd you do with our slide background?
Yeah, I remember one of them, so we can jump into that quickly. It was we danced.
Yeah, there we go. Dance together. Dance
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, dancing, and that's like under the bucket of bioenergetics. So like at our retreats and things that we do, it's getting into the body, out of the head and into the heart, out of the brain into the body, and then doing that with an intimate partner is again just another shared experience, a specific one that's fun. It can be like silly, it can be sensual,
It can be primal.
totally, yeah. And so like going to festivals.
Anyways, it could be primal. Yeah, it can.
Good one.
And it's like a way to get out of the pitfall of being cool. Like how silly and ridiculous can I be with my dancing sometimes? How I can take risks at like trying to be sexy and then maybe being silly and feeling awkward, and then we laugh about it. It's just, yeah, great shared.
We do it all the time.
Mhm.
Like there's never, like we do it at those times when it's like, okay, we're going to be dancing at this stage. And then also maybe the Kaleidoscope playlist or something else is playing. And it's one of those, it's the inertia
Mhm.
tip. So maybe he'll be typing an email or getting off of a call or something. And maybe I'll dance with like just kind of rubbing his back, or we find excuses to get crotch to crotch. You know what I mean? Because sometimes maybe the heads are not aligning completely, but the crotches usually really like each other. So.
I think we got to add that tip.
Add that tip. Get crotch to crotch. When you're feeling crotchety, get crotch to crotch.
Crotch. I was gonna say touch a consenting someone's crotch.
Awesome. Okay, so choosing each other daily.
Well, we did that a little bit one at the beginning with the eye gazing, but yeah, say more. That's a nice anchor and brings us full circle into the start.
Yeah, ending where we began. And I originally got that from my uncle, who was like a father figure of sorts to me. And he said, he was talking about how he's had a successful marriage with my aunt, and it's just they're so loving, and they seem to never like get in fights that last any more than like a couple minutes. And so we were asking him a bit about that, and we're having dinner with them. And he said, it's simple. We chose very early on that we were in this together forever. And so no fight, like, and we're a team, you know, so it's like, it's not a win, lose, or trying to prove anything or any of that kind of stuff. And so we say that oftentimes, like, I choose you. And it like grounds us back into our reality that we have chosen and that we are excited for. It's not a chore, it's a responsibility, and it's like a great gift that we want to honor. I choose you.
You think that's maybe like our Who's a Boo Boo one? Is that choosing each other in some way? We'll say all the time, just out of the blue sky, we'll say, who's a boo-boo? And
So
the other
cool.
person says this one, you know, it's like I'm yours, right? It's like, is there a boo-boo around here? Like, who's my partner? I'm like, this one is your partner. I'm the boo-boo. That's kind of daily choosing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Daily choosing.
Well, and it's so great that you're just starting that habit from the get-go, because then you'll notice, you know, when that is no longer, you know, if that starts slipping and you have this practice. I say all the time that your relationship habits is what determines your relationship happiness. So the fact that you guys are laying this foundation with so much intention, I'm really excited to see how your relationship evolves, and hope we definitely can stay in touch and even have you back on the show again.
That's awesome. That's what I was gonna say. You'll have to check back in with us and see if we're still doing all of the silliness. Or probably better thing to say is like what it has evolved into.
Yes, absolutely. And maybe we'll have to have you back on another season during the talk about the sex dirty during, so we can see about that demo dildo and all that.
What's that, the old box of tricks?
It's the sexy ottoman is at it again. Well, we want to give people, thank you so much for these tips. We want to show people that they can find you at thevioletbutterfly.com, the Facebook group here at the Kaleidoscope, or the Facebook page for Alexa and Martinez, and for Jordan here at Mystic Misfit or Jordan Bowditch. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Bowditch.
I like that. It's fun to say, right?
Bowditch.
Bowditch. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're new to Relationship Fun and Games, we also have a gift for you with our Relationship Reset Kit. It's a 4-part series of emails with our top tips that also have a short little video in them, including the hot and bothered backseat driver. And we have a Fights Clean Sex Dirty guidebook for you. And of course, you can also get access to watching more replays from the show. You can, if you're watching this live, click on the link that we've put in the comments here. Or if you're watching this, just hit pause, write this down, and come and snap up your free gift at relationshipfunandgames.com. And if you are familiar with Relationship Fun and Games, but you want to dive a little deeper, we've got our ebook. I mentioned already our P3 store for keeping it playful, peaceful, and passionate. Just a sample of some of those ideas. I'm going to have to snap up some of those books, questions that you mentioned, the card questions, and add that to the website, add that to the P3 store.
Gabby loves scouring these sites to find fun, playful things. So she's done all that legwork for you. If you're looking for fun gifts.
It sounds like they've done some legwork too.
Totally.
They've got some good ideas on some toys around here too. And as we mentioned, there's a few past episodes always available on the website. You can also purchase past episodes from previous seasons, or get our fast track, the summary of the top 8 episodes from the first year. And shortly we'll have version 2 coming out for that. And we always love to have people, whether it's in our homes or in our coaching programs, for venting for victory and putting some pains in the past, or all the way to creating a shared relationship vision so that you have a mantra and goals and an anchor about who you say you are as a couple, not that dreaded default that we were talking about before.
Yeah, so our property here, we can have amazing, Gabby does these vacation relationship retreats where you're half the day on vacation and you're half the day working with Gabby on a variety of things.
It shouldn't be work, right? It should be pleasurable. That's why we have the gorgeous hot tub and the beautiful view that you can see in the picture there. And so you can find out about all of those offerings and more at relationshipfunandgames.com/offerings. And then next week, we will have Sierra Sullivan and Ronald Smith. Excited to have them back. They were here a few seasons ago.
Yeah, and so we're going to be looking at how to keep fights clean as it starts. 5 tips for avoiding the argument on ramp, because once you get into fights clean during, it's that much more difficult to get back. We
want the easy on-ramps to intimacy, right? But we want to avoid the on-ramps to upsets and arguments, right?
So you learn how to get in on this and get off the freeway of fights by avoiding those argument on-ramps and up-leveling your love life with the quick and simple tips that we'll be sharing next week. And these two are an amazing couple. We're actually starting another business with this couple.
So fun.
Mm-hmm.
So fun. They know how to bring play to everything. In fact, that's the core 3 values of the new company, as we call it FFF, friendship and fun first.
Mm-hmm.
Profit has got to come after that. Otherwise, it's going to be a hobby. But we make sure that we start with fun. So again, we'll wrap up here with this lovely, gorgeous picture of this couple and those links for you as well. So you can go find out more, find out about her podcast, as she mentioned, and just explore more what you can find with Jordan and Alexa. Because again, as we said with our tip tonight, it doesn't matter as much what you do, but that you do something. Have a practice of engaging in intimacy, playing the game, having new experiences, both on your own and together. So thanks to you, the audience, for joining us. Thanks, Alexa and Jordan. It's so great to have you on the show. Congratulations, and we are going to stay in touch and see how things are evolving for you.
Yeah, so good to meet both of you. And if you're ever in Santa Barbara, we definitely want you to come by and visit. And if we're in New Orleans, we will come by and say hi to Biggie Smalls and get a ride in the Flowmobile.
Flo was born here. You heard it here first, folks. Awesome. All right. Thanks, everyone. We know your time is full, but we want to make sure that your relationship, that your heart is full as well. So let us know how you're doing and what other topics and other relationship experts you would love, or even just inspiring couples you would love to meet here on Fights Clean Sex Dirty TV. Get out there and initiate some inertia. Do something.
Mm-hmm.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.